Hello guys and girls, and welcome to episode 126 of the F.Reality Podcast. This is a weekly VR, AR and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube and on Twitch. We've actually stopped pushing the show live to Facebook now, and we're probably just going to upload whole episodes of the show to Facebook in future, so if Facebook is your platform of choice, it's just something to be aware of. But don't forget, you can also catch the show live in VR using big screen TV. The show goes live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in central US. You can also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Spotify. If you have any questions, comments, or feedback during the show, put them in the chat. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can. Now, of course, it's time for me to introduce you to the team. First up, this guy's starting afresh, a new star on a brand new VR channel, but it's the same lovable rogue we know and love. It's now rebranded. Say howdy to Rowdy. It's Rowdy VR. How you doing, dude? You all right?
Indeed. Yeah, indeed. I'm doing great, actually. It's it was for me about time to like have a fresh start. Like I did like a little video explaining the reasoning behind it as well. But basically for me, it was the fact that I've done the channel now for roughly about 5 years. And in those 5 years, so many things have changed. Like I started out doing mobile VR headset reviews, which was a niche I think that nobody else was really getting into. That was mostly the reason behind it. By the way, it's mostly the reason because I didn't have the money to buy like any other headset. And then afterwards, I went into like, you know, more gameplay videos. I went into Let's Play videos. I did a little bit of vlogging on the side. But it's come to a time that I think it's a good time to like specialize in something that I like doing a lot, and then that I think at least that I'm good at. So indeed, I started a new channel, starting completely afresh, and the response so far has been great, and it's been awesome to have that as well.
Yeah, I think it's a smart move, especially, you know, because of the variety in content, you know, and now you're narrowing down on a specific content like niche, that maybe it is wise to start afresh. So, you know, if you enjoy Rowdy's gameplay videos, which are hilarious, then go and check out his new channel, which is, of course, Rowdy VR.
Thanks.
Nice. Well, next up, when he's not in VR and sharing his experiences with the world on YouTube, he's dodging global pandemics. It's our Frisian friend. This is, of course, Nathie. How you doing, dude? You all right?
Well, officially, when it's Monday, then I can say that I do not have the virus. But for now, there's still a chance that I am infected.
Can you infect us through the sound waves?
Well, maybe. Yeah, who knows? Sometimes it happens.
Yeah, but you're feeling okay though, right?
I am feeling fine, yeah. Although, if you get too much into the news, then you're like, maybe, yeah, I see some symptoms. Oh. But no, I'm good. I think I'm totally fine, you know.
Yeah. Are you like famous in your local town now? But not for YouTube, but for the guy that survived.
yeah, survivor.
The coronavirus.
Exactly. Yeah. Who knows? Like in my country, no one has been, diagnosed yet with it. So I could be the first. I can be famous. So if I want to become a Dutch influencer, this is my moment.
Yeah, all you need to do is like ride around on your Super 73 and just cough on people. That's how you spread it.
The thing is, like, honestly, if I'm going to wear a mask right now and I'm going to go to the supermarket, people are going to be like scared for sure. They will know. They will know straight away because the news has been like constantly, been talking about this virus that
it's crazy though. I mean, like from a pure scientific perspective, like if you know how many people get killed every year by the influenza virus, which is, by the way, also a respiratory virus, so it can be transmitted through air, and nobody seems to care, even though we have like a flu vaccine available that everyone can take. Like the amounts of thousands of people that get killed because of the swine flu, H1N1, is enormously high, and nobody seems to care about that. While then there's this virus that comes from China, and everybody just like loses their mind and freaks out. Well, we have like our own killers that are right here.
Hey, welcome to the media of today.
Yeah.
Yeah, Swift Italy in the chat says Nathie will be the start of The Walking Dead IRL. We've got 18 minutes to get us prepared.
Someone like yesterday on my new video, because I've been recently to China and everyone's like super concerned about that. So I was like, "Oh, Nathie rip, he has boo flu." I'm still alive.
Good.
I know.
Everyone's laughing, and I'm horrible. I imagine everyone is, and all of a sudden just flips to like all of us being skeletons, just laughing away in our chairs, just as the skin melts off of our faces.
Yeah, but glad to hear that you're okay. So next up, get your dancing shoes on and ready, because this guy loves nothing more than a dance-off in VR, pioneering the Oculus Quest dual stream setup. It's VR streamer, ZimTok5. How you doing?
I'm good, Mike. Yeah, good. Little bit more sore this week than normal because we've been doing back-to-back Beat Saber, Audica, Dance Central, everything that uses muscles that normally don't get used. So that's been fun. But yeah, no, it's been a long, probably about a month's worth of kind of playing with getting dual Quest streaming working in that side-by-side format. And finally it's at a point where it's like, finally hit that acceptable quality level bar. There's some things we want to fix, but like my wife's audio, trying to figure out a way that I could get audio into her ears and my ears and capture it in a better way than we're currently using. But there's some very difficult technical challenges there. So I think we're kind of at the plateau now of now just have fun and play content. But it's great to have my wife kind of by my side again, because when we started off streaming, we did a lot of that stuff, like blind driving in Euro Truck Simulator, where I was blind and my wife would just give me instructions and be driving away and she'd be sitting in the seat next to me. And we used to do a lot of shows together. So it's nice to finally find a time that works and a format that works, and
it's
get
cool
to play
to
again.
see you both do, like, I saw like the Beat Saber streams as well, but it's so cool when you get like the timing just right and you have like because wait, she's left-handed, right?
Yeah, she's left-handed.
Yeah, so you get this like symmetry kind of thing going on between you two, because you're then on my left side and she's on my right side. So it looks really cool when you see that in symmetry, like how it then works. Yeah, if you get the timing just right.
But she's beaten me so bad. I mean, she's
so
absolutely legend at Beat Saber. I can't even get. I actually spend time like hanging out. I spent time hanging out just trying to beat her scores. Good 2 hours, and no, didn't even get close.
I would like to invite everyone to check out like a stream from Zim, especially when he plays Skyrim VR. Like yesterday, I tuned into his stream, super random, and I sometimes do when it's super late, because Zim is like someone who's also like up pretty late, and I'm just working, and it's like maybe I should just watch. And for some random reason, he was playing Skyrim. Now that on itself isn't super special in VR, but then he came, like he was going to quit, but then suddenly he came to this guy who said like, I got something, I got something behind this trap door, and I'm selling skooma. I'm like, well, what the heck is skooma, right? So I was Googling it. I came out like, I ended up on the IKEA website. I don't know why, but Sam, just tell in short what kind of, like, he was playing some kind of quest or something. I don't know.
It wasn't even, so I was going in the direction of a quest, and then I ran across this little like underground dungeon where they sell psychedelic drinks. And then Nathie like was Googling at the same time, and we're like finding this stuff, but like it was literally like this underground den of like, you pick a bay where everyone's like passed out, all these addicts like with bottles of skooma around. I'm like, the hell is this? And it was brilliant. It was really good. And then Nathie found this crazy video of someone had modded it with someone taking like 120 bottles of skooma and flying across the map. So it was a very special last evening. But you know why that even happened? I started off with Asgard's Wrath, which for whatever reason didn't like my graphics card. This particular night, crashed OBS in the game 3 times in a row. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go play Skyrim. And so we ended up playing Skyrim for the night instead.
You went on a holiday.
Yeah, it still feels like a holiday to me. I love that. I love that game. So
Nice. But I think you've completely nailed, that dual stream setup. It looks so nice, and no one else is doing it. So you really are, when I call you a pioneer in that sense, I do really genuinely mean it. So congrats to you there. I think it's a really neat concept. So yeah, nice one.
Also, we're not sponsored by skooma. Just
should be.
Yet.
Should be though.
Yet.
Yeah.
We are interested for sure.
We're working on it.
Buy F.Reality skooma flavored beer.
You know where to get hold of us. Contact at FReality.tv.
I'm just thinking, I don't know why are people so kicked up about this coronavirus? It's easy, right? It's a simple recipe to solve the coronavirus. Just add 2 slices of lemon.
Or lime even. Yeah.
I messed it up.
Corona's a beer, a popular beer. I think it is probably worldwide, right?
I'd say worldwide, isn't it? It's a Mexican beer, or was originally, but now it's all over.
Now people want to drink it anymore.
Now they want to change their name, yeah. So anyway, my name's Mike from Virtual Reality Oasis, host of the show. We've got a great show for you today. Some of the highlights include some epic sales numbers on how Oculus performed over the Christmas period, which is really interesting. GTA 5 VR mod just got even better. We give you all the details about the new update. Zim's going to give you the lowdown on the latest releases to look forward to next week. And then finally, this time we've left plenty of space this week, so Nathie can tell us more about his trip to China, so we can get an insight into what the VR market is like in Asia right now.
Infectious. It's infectious, I hear.
This is just going to be a theme of the show now, so in advance,
I just hope this video goes viral after this.
Nice one, Rowdy. Nice one. So first up, let's start the show off with what we played this week and a highlight of the week. And first up is you then, Rowdy. What did you get up to, dude?
Yeah, the only thing I played was Saints and Sinners. So I made a video with that one, and we talked about it last week, so I won't be talking about it too much. But what I did do is I found a trainer online, so you could actually use things like infinite stamina and infinite health and infinite ammo and whatever, and I found the game so much better when I had infinite stamina on, because I wouldn't pretty much die every 15 meters that I would run and get an asthma attack. So having that on just made the game so much better for me. All the rest I didn't really bother that much for it, except for when I was doing a recording. But it's such a solid game. It feels even better than I think than when I tried it first time, since I played a little bit more hours now. I haven't done that much of the story yet, but it's just so much fun to mess around with everything, because again, everything is so physical. I saw a post not that long ago, Saints and Sinners and Boneworks really shows that the future of virtual reality is with physics kind of objects, and I do think that is, at least to a certain degree, that is true, because it's so much more fun. If someone looks at that and sees that, then they immediately get better what virtual reality is about. It's okay, and you can grab that, and you can you do physical reloading. You have the full body in there as well, which I think is done really well actually in Saints and Sinners, the way that they've done the full body. I don't think I've played another game where they've done it so well as there, even though it's sometimes, especially when I'm reloading, it's still kind of goofs up a little bit.
Do you mean about the inverse kinematics, or?
Yeah, so the entire body is there basically. So yeah, I do think that there's a very nice thing how they've integrated that in there. Fun game.
It's amazing how much mainstream coverage it got. So we kind of get a taste of what is going to happen when Half-Life drops. Although if you look at the Walking Dead one, it's because of its name that the media picks up on it for sure, and also there's so much hype behind it, and then you have other mainstream websites who cover it, and then it's like a chain. It's like the popular opinion. If you don't cover it, then someone else will.
But I also think because it's so visceral, like I recorded some clips, and I think I'll post them later on this week, where you feel actually like you're running from a horde or running from a zombie apocalypse, and you get that feeling like you're running, and you see this. It looks really cool on the screen as well. You see the screen going, and then you look behind, and the screen pans behind you, and you see there's like that flock of zombies like running towards you. Go like shit! You start running faster. You grab your knife out. You grab the first one. You stab it in the head. You throw the knife to the other one. You pick up your gun. You start shooting, and that's really what like virtual reality is about, I think, because you can't do that kind of stuff really as visceral as that in like a 2D game. So I think that if you capture that right, then a lot of people will immediately be convinced and be like, oh, I want to try this one. I want to just get that feeling.
Totally a converter, because that emotion, like when a game gets inside you in that way, like that immersion, it's scary, and the tension really builds in that game slowly, but it gets to the point of like panic. And there's not many games that get you to that point of like terror and panic, and it does a great job of that.
Plus, if you look at the games that came out so far, not a lot of them had this spark of like, wow, if I watch this and I see a video of it, this is VR. Wow, this is interesting. I want to check it out. Like most games, like same with Boneworks, it has a certain vibe to it when you watch it. It's like real, right? It feels real when you watch it. But most titles don't have that, But it's interesting, and that's why it also sells so well, right?
But it's interesting that of those titles, all of those titles have been like released kind of like lately. You have Asgard's Wrath, Stormland, you had Boneworks, you have now Saints and Sinners. So it's like we're seeing like a little bit of a shift to a more like mature kind of virtual reality genre of gameplay, which I think is good, because that's ultimately what people want.
Yeah, and in terms of sales, like it's done really well on the Steam charts this week as well, so it's selling really well. But maybe for people that don't know what a trainer is or where to find it, where can they sort of look this thing up?
website.com. Come on, tell me.
I have to look. If you look up Saints and Sinner trainer, it's the first link I think that you get. But a trainer is basically like a sort of like a cheat engine. So because the game is also I mean, you guys probably all got that as well, but there's also like a developer version of it with like a debug menu. So the game is fairly moddable in that kind of sense, that it's fairly easy to like get like certain things in there that make it easy to record content with as well. But there's a trainer already been made, and I think I know the guy. He does it often, and it works on Oculus as well, because the debug menu only works on Steam. And this one actually works also on Fling Trainer. That's how it's called. Fling Trainer.
Nice. It's so old school trainer. That reminds me of like GTA Pizza Trainer.
But like you said,
I can read out what you can get.
Do
go for it,
Do you also have Skooma trainers? Sorry?
Skooma?
It works with numpad keys. So you need to activate the game, then activate the trainer, and then you have like numpad keys, and each key has a certain cheat code to it. So numpad 1 is an infinite health, no poison, no maximum health drop is numpad 2, then infinite stamina, no hunger or no maximum stamina drop, infinite ammo, no reloading, infinite weapon durability. Very nice one as well. Zombies can't grab you, so that's also nice. And then infinite resources is another one.
Nice.
I feel like we've gone back in time to like the 90s, back when cheat code books and that were there. I still remember.
Yeah, that's the thing. There's no such thing really in place for like Oculus to do this kind of stuff, right?
You can also.
I never had a game that was really necessary for either.
You can also call like a phone
hotline. Yeah, we should set one up. The F.Reality hotline.
For the Walking Dead.
$10 a minute, to give them tips and advice.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Now, I do think that like the developers should include at least like a stamina mod for it, because I'm telling you, if there's a zombie horde chasing me, I'm not gonna catch my breath on the sideline after like running for like 15 meters. Like I'll be running until my feet like drop off. Like
yeah.
It would make it so much better if there was a stamina mod.
Yeah, but again, they are not going to do it because then the crafting system is a total useless thing. But I get
use it anyway.
But that's why.
Yeah, but Saints and Sinners have been doing great, so really good to see that it's performing well. Yeah, absolutely. So what about you then, Zim? What have you been playing this week? What's your highlight?
I think you nailed it with the Dance Central bit, but I'll cover off something I said last week I would install and run, which is, so my highlight is really the Your Stat Tracker, Calorie Tracker app.
Nice.
Just as a quick summary, right, works as a kind of an overlay on any game that you play on the Quest. It's also available on desktop, so you can actually get stat tracking across all your VR games. I haven't tried out the PC version, but doing, obviously Beat Saber, Audica, which was amazing actually. I think the conversion is great, and Dance Central, which I never actually got a chance to play like in depth. I'd like sampled it for maybe 15 minutes when it first landed, and tried it at PAX last year. But this is the first time I actually got into it. And actually, I think it's very unique. But that combination of like having a stat tracker that you can always see with a calorie count, an XP meter, which is how many calories you've burned, and it shows you like how much till the next level. And there's just the gamer part in me that's like, I got to get to level 3. And then you lose track of it, and before you know it, you're level 5, and you've been playing for an hour and a half.
So did you pair this with a hardware device as well? Like we talked about last time? No.
You don't have to.
Yeah, you don't have to. It's just but it still feels relatively accurate. This is the part where I go into the dodgy side of it. But your app is interesting because it will track you through everything, even like the Oculus browser and stuff like that. It picked up SLR Go. It picked up all these stuff, and it shows you your...
We detected 2 minutes of heavy wrist action.
That's how Zim got to level 5 so quick.
But it was so funny because like for something like that, which is primarily a video watching app, right? Like the calorific meter is like 0, it's like, and then so it was really interesting to see the comparison between that and like a Beat Saber or an Audica or the Oculus web browser. But it also was a bit like, oh, right, this is great. So stat tracking is fantastic, but it is watching all of your actions, it's really funny. But it's cool. It wasn't too difficult to install. A bit awkward the setup actually. I wasn't expecting it. So I had to download Oculus TV because I had taken it off. I was like, I'm never going to use that. You have to download Oculus TV, go to a channels tab, launch Your has an app in front of you, and then it actually has a nice kind of display. The only thing that I thought was missing was any easy way to kind of stat track against friends. It wasn't obvious. There are leaderboards, but there wasn't an obvious way of like, these are my 5 friends. I want to stat track against my wife and go that way. So, but Dance Central, and the reason I picked it as the kind of the highlight, is the multiplayer, which is in-sync online multiplayer, is amazing because you go to like a lounge, which is like a little club area, and there's a dancer in the middle or whatever, and it's not so intuitive. Like there were screens on the wall that said, throw your phone, like take the GUI interface that you have, which is just represented like a cell phone or a mobile phone, and just chuck it. And you hurl that, and it's going to add to an energy meter. I was like, what the hell? And my wife and I were like 10 minutes not sure what to do. And we eventually realized there was this ring, and you're supposed to chuck your phone. And so we're chucking our phones, which is kind of an abnormal thing to do. And then that goes, and then it presents a song, and it has you dance off against each other. And then there's something like the Nintendo Switch game Heave Ho, where you've got these like snapshots where you have to strike a pose, and then strike another pose, and then strike another pose. And whoever does the pose first gets some points. But you can do that 4-player synchronous multiplayer online is probably the best online Oculus Quest multiplayer experience I've ever had. And that's why I wanted to highlight it, because it's ingenious, it gets you rocking, you can select what tracks you want to be playing, and you interact even with the NPCs in that club. So ingenious. A little bit unintuitive when you first come across it, but if you have faith that you're going to be able to find the music, it's great. You can customize your avatar, you can dance with your buddies. It's awesome. Really, really cool.
It's strange that Oculus haven't shown off that 4-player ability, because I didn't even know that feature existed.
Yeah, so
which you would have thought would be a killer feature, right?
It absolutely is. And so I've been trying to chat up Cass and Cherry. I was like, come on, my wife and I want to take you down on the dance floor. We go head to head and see how it goes. So we'll see
Cherry's
if that
got some
spins
moves
off.
as well, so you got some competition there.
Yeah, I figured. Yeah, so we'll see.
You can also challenge me or Rowdy or Mike.
I'd bring you guys down. We should do it.
I'm down, dude. I'm down.
Nice one. So what about you then, Nathie? What have you been up to this week, dude?
Yeah, so let's first go to the chat.
Sure.
So we have Watto UK, who finally got to play The Walking Dead this week after the third time trying to install it. Imagine how many gigabytes those are. That's crazy.
Wow.
Impressive. And then he says, neck injury kept me out of VR this week, but it is fine now.
Oh, good to hear.
Forward to racing with Zim tomorrow.
Oh. That's our big monthly race for any Assetto Corsa fans.
Ooh, exciting. And then we have a D1360, who played the new Arizona free update on Quest.
Nice.
Megan Mason played Cave Digger, Beat Saber, and Pistol Whip. The free Cave Digger, demo that you can play is really, really decent. So if you want to try it on Quest, check it out. It's very interesting.
It's really extended beyond the original game as well. There's like 3 or 4 different areas. Whereas originally you had one mine, now you've got like 4.
Yeah. It's an open world Cave Digger game now.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
And then we have Jamie, who also played Saints and Sinners. A little late to the party, but having fun with it. Geek John played Drop Dead on Quest using social features to set up a local league. Copperfield says not much, but made time for some Beat Saber and Hyper Dash. Johnny Wells, I played Dead until all the washing up was done. And then last but not least, Dave the Psycho. Nothing major. Walking Dead, Asgard's Wrath, and Audica on Quest.
Yes. Nothing major.
Yeah, that's pretty major, I would say. So I didn't play that much, but there is one demo that I can highlight that is also free on the Oculus Quest. It's a web VR experience. I'm not sure if any of you have dove into the browser, but the Oculus browser has games too that you can play that run through the internet. It's like you dive from VR into another deeper rabbit hole called the internet, and then in there you can also play games. I think that's an awesome concept that works really well. And there is one that is not highlighted on the browser itself because Oculus is pushing some web VR experiences on there that just show up. But there is one that they did not highlight, and that's a Spider-Man demo where you can just soar through the city, and that's about it. You can collect some crystals or something as a challenge, but besides that, it's more of a demo to show that you can build something, put it in the browser, and let people access it through VR by using the Quest. That's mind melting, though, I have to say. Like, for anyone who's not tried Moonrider or Sound Boxer, no, what's that called? Sound. Yeah, boxing one. Yeah,
Sound boxing, I think. But yeah, the fact that they run with no discernible latency, straight from the Oculus browser, just launches a game full screen is like, that's mind-blowing the first time you do it. There's a great one as well, I don't know if you played it, Nathie, where all you have is it's called Make It Rain. You just have like $500 bills, and you just spray money, and you're like spraying money like it's a snow globe, your own personal snow globe, and fortune. It's great.
I think the amazing thing about that is that you don't have to download anything. The game just runs instantly in your browser, which is amazing, really. Yeah. And I think we're actually going to talk about this potentially next week as a main topic as well and delve into it a little deeper. But it's cool that you had a good experience because I haven't tried it myself yet.
No, I think when the Quest launched, I also tried some experiences, but I think there is way more than meets the eye because this Spider-Man one that I tried. Someone shared it on Reddit, and that's how I got to know about it. So if you want to get into that, it's very simple. You go to your Oculus browser, you hit up Google, and then in the search bar, you type in spiderman.webvr.link, and then you just hit enter, and then you can just, dive in. So that's it, and it's web VR. That's funny, right? It's funny. I will also drop it in the chat for folks. So yeah, that's about it.
Nice little recommendation for sure. And like you said, you don't have to download anything. You can just be jumping into it really easily and quickly.
And it's free. It's free.
And it's free, which is even better. Yeah. So my highlight this week, I played a few bits and pieces, but my highlight for sure was definitely having the opportunity to visit Endreams. They're a development studio in the UK. They're currently developing Phantom Covert Ops, which is going to be an Oculus exclusive title for both Rift S, and Quest. If you've not heard of Phantom before, I'll give you a little bit of an overview of it. It's a stealth military first-person shooter in VR in a kayak. And I think whenever you hear that pitch first, you're like, in a kayak? Like, what? This sounds nuts. But yeah, they've got this really crazy, unique concept, but it's a really nice, fun concept for a VR game. And what I actually learned whilst I was visiting them was that this military kayak unit does actually exist in real life. There's the SBS in the UK, which is the special boat service. And they're kind of like...
Sorry,
It sounds crazy, I know.
Yes, they're going to come to your house right now.
Yeah, you don't want to mess with these guys.
You live near water?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, yes, near a canal. It's famous in Edinburgh. There's a canal, so yes, they could totally hit me.
So this is how you are going to defend as a country in the end when you get invaded. You have all these kayaks and
exactly.
Yeah, don't count on Europe to come and help you out now.
No. Too soon. But yeah, the SBS, they're actually like. They're not as well known or as famous as the SAS, who are like the Special Air Service, but the SBS are the Special Boat Service.
Not anywhere near as famous. Not anywhere near as famous.
No, but they're equally as badass, and they actually use kayaks and these tactics to infiltrate enemy strongholds by the water. Because when you do it by water, it's super quiet, so it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, when I went to the studio, I learned about like the Special Boat Service and like these special units that are actually using kayaks, and they told me about the design idea behind Phantom. And it was like the lead art director there, he had the concept and idea of like he wanted to make a first-person military shooter because that's a genre that's very popular and has wide, broad appeal. But they didn't want to do a traditional one because of the complications with movement in VR, and that's how he came up with this concept of having a kayak. And then he kind of pitched it internally, and then obviously they ended up showing that to Oculus, who ended up funding the title because it is an Oculus exclusive title. But basically it's a seated experience. You've got like a paddle, and then you've got your armaments, like weapons and gadgets, like stashed around your kayaks. So you've got like a silenced pistol, you've got like a silenced scope sniper rifle. You've also got like an MP5 on your back, so if things do get a bit crazy and you get spotted and the shot starts firing, then you can start shooting back and shoot your way out. And night vision goggles and some other bits and pieces as well.
The cool part about this game is that you can just decide how you want to play it. You can play it loud, you can play it silent, and you have also different ways to go. It's not open world, but it's giving you different opportunities to play around with, what you got.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's got variety in the gameplay that would reward you for going back and playing it again in a different style or checking out different routes, because
it has achievements, I think, right?
Exactly, yeah. So you get awarded with a play style and little badges, although it could change before release, depending on your play style, the way you played it through that level. But yeah, like Nathie and I we've actually played this before. We played a very early Quest build, maybe about 8 months ago, I think.
Yeah, that's like a long time ago.
I felt like
back then that it was going to launch.
Yeah, I felt the same way as well.
And even when I was at E3, you could try it everywhere. They had so many quests, and most of the demos were all their title, and that's what I wanted to ask you. Like that's the main question. Where the heck is this game? It should have launched last year.
Yeah.
On the Quest, maybe a few months when after it launched. I don't know, but
so I can tell you they're still working on it. I don't have any details on a release yet, but they really are sort of still adding bits to the game. Really polishing out, because they do really, and I feel the same way. I do think they've got like a real special and unique concept here that we haven't seen in VR before, that deserves that extra time in the oven when it comes out. But the one thing
I
that I
played it
was
on the Quest as well. Not the.
I
played it not that long ago.
Okay.
But it's probably the same build as what you guys have. But
yeah.
I had a friend of mine who is not very, how would I say it, like used to virtual reality already, and she tried that one out as well, and she actually really liked it because you know you have that feeling of sitting down, so like motion sickness is not really a kind of thing, and she really felt like she was in that, you know, that kayak, and like she was like going like this the entire time, like, oh, I need to go back a little bit. So it actually steers really like a kayak as well, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, exactly. Like the movement is exactly what you'd expect it to feel like. And, you know, you don't have any strafing or anything like that. So like you say, it's a seated experience. Everything is mainly happening in front of you. So it's very comfortable to play, and which is important for newcomers. But it is a first-person shooter as well, which is nice. But the one thing I was super intrigued about was that the dev team recently released a trailer for the Rift version, and it looked way better, like graphically in the trailer, which got me excited. So I actually got to play the game on Rift for the first time, and I can say like it doesn't disappoint in terms of the way it looks on Rift, which I was really happy with, because we've had games in the past like Journey for Gods, for example, and what was the racing game from Owlsy Studios?
With
Deathlap, for example, where the game was like developed on Quest, and then that build was just basically ported over to the PC version without any upscaling or, you know, using high res textures or anything. But really, like Endreams have gone to town on the Rift version of Phantom, and because like, you know, most of the game is set at night. You know, you've got these spotlights looking for you, enemy torches. They can really make the lighting look gorgeous on PC. And when you see that lighting being reflected on the ripples of the water surface, it really does look amazing. So I'm really happy that the Rift version wasn't kind of neglected, and Rift owners are going to get that extra little bonus of having that graphical fidelity.
It's nice to see that they care so much about the PC VR aspect too, because there are enough developers there like, you know, I made my Quest version, here's the Quest version on PC, have fun, I don't care, because, you know, that's where the sales are. It's very I'm very curious about it. And like, did you also like see anything new? Because I mean, as you said, like 8 months ago, it's like a long ass time.
So I would say I've seen some new stuff, and a lot of the core stuff has been really refined. That's what I would say without giving too much details away. But yeah, I'm super excited for the game. Obviously, we don't have a release window just yet. But if you want to see some behind-the-scenes stuff, which I'd really recommend, because they're a super passionate team and they've got some really unique ideas, and sort of it explains a lot of the rationale behind their decision making. They're doing a lot of dev interviews and behind the scenes stuff on Twitter and Facebook, so go and check out what they're up to over there. But it was really nice, as always, to get a kind of peek behind the curtain and see how these things actually come to life. It's incredible, really, how games even get made.
Did they have a release date, actually?
No release date yet. No, unfortunately.
Well, I'm ready for when it comes out. I've done this already before for the National Geographic experience, but if you have yourself a proper kayaking experience, this is the PSVR one. I grabbed the wrong one in the rush, but there's actually two of these. If you use a Beat Saber, like Maul Saber from ProTube, it works really well.
I'd love for you to play with that and then like freak out when you need to go and get your gun.
Exactly. That's the only limitation I would say of that thing. Is going to really hamper your gun handling skills. But yeah, it is what it is. But that is Phantom, and that was like my highlight of the week this week.
National Geographic, by the way, underappreciated experience.
Definitely.
Totally give it a try. I know it sounds boring, like National Geographic in a way where it's like, how can this be VR?
Yeah.
But seriously, you're going to be surprised.
That's what I used that for. And it was beautiful, because all you were doing was every so often taking a photo of like a penguin that looked just a little bit like, I don't know, Briggs of Tears or something, sitting there on a melting ice block. Yeah. And you're like, take a picture before it goes under. And then you'd paddle a little bit, you know, to the ice mount, and then you'd get your pickaxes out. It worked really well. Like having a peripheral in any VR game maximizes the immersion. I know Mike's gone through that experience like nobody else, and it's like once you step through like having the doohickey, the aim controller, a paddle, whatever it is, right? A driving wheel, it just makes it. And the trouble is you end up with that fella who bought too many Wii controllers because you just have so many peripherals sitting around.
You're surrounded by plastic crap. Yeah.
It's weird though. Like National Geographic has been made by Field Entertainment, who also made Time Stall and the Anne Frank VR experience. All of them are like hidden gems. It's like the studio only knows how to make things that no one knows exist. Because Time Stall didn't have much, marketing either behind it. So.
Time Stall, you mean? Time Stall.
Yeah, but Zim picked that up when you were away.
They've got a three-dimensional pizza creator. Of course, it's amazing.
I know it's
you can
it's
just
a sweet
phone
game.
a number and you get pizza through a hole. I mean, who doesn't want? I want that now.
And the pizza has physics too, by the way.
Pizza physics are amazing.
Physics, yeah. Also, like you sparked, you reminded me about something, Zim, when you mentioned penguin, because on last week's show we asked the question, how many penguins can we fit in a Valve Index, and it turns out it is only one, sadly, but it fits perfectly. So if you want a chocolatey snack,
it just reminded me of how large the penguin bar actually is, because I knew it was thick, but it's actually got more geometry to it than I was expecting.
And also like how underrated they are. Like they're incredible. Like I blitzed that packet in like a couple of days.
Hang on.
Okay, maybe we should leave this for the next podcast.
Feeling hungry? Feeling hungry? No. Hang on. I need to share that. This is the most important thing that my first girlfriend ever taught me how to do, which is a penguin orgasm.
Okay, now it gets interesting.
Now, a penguin orgasm is not what you think. It's not sexual in any way, but it tastes sexual, and I'll tell you why. So penguin orgasm. Mike, do you have a penguin bar, or are you done with them?
I've eaten them all.
You're done. So penguin bar is a little rectangular shaped thing. I'm trying to desperately make a triangle here, or rectangle. So what you do is you nip with your teeth. You bite off the corners on both ends. You get a mug of hot chocolate. You dip it in the side. You draw the liquid up through the biscuity bar, and then you pop it in your mouth right as it touches your tongue. That is the orgasmic experience. That is a penguin orgasm. Amazing.
Wow. So there you go. This isn't just about VR. You learn genuine life skills on this show.
That's it.
Thank you for that.
Again, if they want
that my mom listens to this podcast.
Well, she's going to have a penguin orgasm this week, so enjoy, Rowdy's mum. Right, let's get into the news then, because we've got to give Nathie some time. We promised him last week. Sorry about that. Right. So, first bit of news this week, bit of quick news. This is, it's about a friend of the show, PSVR Frank. You remember that guy? It's the Frank Show, what? The Frank Show, come on. You remember him? He was actually one of the original hosts of this podcast.
Yeah, you're right.
Before it was called F.Reality. When it was called VR Inside Podcast, he was one of the very first hosts of the show. And if you dig around my YouTube channel, I've got a playlist of all the old episodes. You can go back to the very first episode. Go check it out when Frank's on there.
And that episode is worth a watch because the ending of it is beyond spectacular.
I think it was the pilot though, wasn't it? That
was the second episode.
Was it the pilot version?
Yeah, I think it was. So to explain what happened, the pilot version, so the one before that's on my channel, we did like a test, the four of us all recording, and because it was like really early, it was a different time, and it was really early in Frank's time. He literally rolled out of bed, was like smoking a cigarette and talking on the show, and then he didn't say good morning to his girlfriend, who is his now wife. Now, and she burst into the room and screamed at him like, what are you doing? You didn't even come and say good morning to me, you jerk. And then he was like, sorry guys, I have to go, and just like cut the stream. But it was like the most dramatic thing ever, which was great for like a pilot episode. It's a shame that that's kind of
so basically what it comes down to, Frank made us famous. That was our start of like, a successful podcast.
But if you don't know, or you didn't, follow PSVR Frank, he had a well-established PSVR YouTube channel. He ended up sort of quitting that and then going and joining First Contact Entertainment, which are the devs behind the excellent Firewall 0 Hour and the upcoming shooter called Solaris. But this week, Frank's been working there for a while, but this week Frank announced the start of a brand new channel in collaboration with First Contact Entertainment that will deliver weekly gaming news and information. And this covers the whole industry, not just VR news. So if you want to support Frank and you want your sort of weekly fix of news from the gaming industry, check out the new show, which is simply called The Gaming Show on YouTube. Shout out to Frank.
The game show.
The game show.
And it's on his channel, so it's not like a separate thing.
Oh no, it is a separate thing.
Oh, it is a separate. Sorry.
Yeah, he just did a like a little plug for it on his channel.
I see. Let me
you can go and check them out to find the link. But I just want to wish him the best of luck with the project, and I'll be following his news over the coming weeks.
Well, it's funny because like when we ran into Frank, I mean, he's such a well-informed fella with a great opinion. Like he's great to meet in person. If anyone gets an opportunity, he's North America based, but as you said, since he went into First Contact, he kind of went off the radar a little bit. And it's very nice to see Frank come back because he's a very charismatic gentleman. And, what can I say? Dance to his intro.
Yeah, he's got a unique personality.
I think this guy's made to bring, like, VR news.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think he was one of the first ones to actually do it on YouTube, since there's, like, quite a few, like, VR news channels now. But I think
he was OG.
Frank was the first one to do it, like, and do like, maintain doing it as well, because I think that's, like, the big thing, because he... Yeah. Like, he made so many news episodes. That was impressive.
Yeah.
He dominated PSVR news for a good year and a half, I'd say. And did it with character. And that's the most important thing in my book, is he did it. It wasn't just flatline Frank. It was fucking PSVR Frank.
Well, talking about dominating, he's going to do it again.
Yeah, wish him the best of luck. So, looking forward to seeing more from the game show in the future. So let's get into some VR news then. First bit of VR news this week came from Mark Zuckerberg himself when he gave us a bit of an insight into how well Oculus did over the Christmas period. So Mark Zuckerberg, he posted on Facebook the quarterly community update and business results in a Facebook post. And the most interesting thing for me about the post, obviously it covers a lot of Facebook stuff, other sort of applications that they do as well, like WhatsApp and the rest of it, was the details that they shared about VR and AR. And this is what he said. We hit a real milestone for virtual reality with Quest. Sales are stronger than we expected, and people are buying and engaging with more content than we had expected to. On Christmas Day, people bought almost $5 million worth of content in the Oculus store. That's an outlier day, but still, this is real volume by any measure, and it shows the progress this ecosystem is making. So $5 million US content sales across the Oculus platform on Christmas Day. That's pretty incredible, right?
I would like to see like a distribution of that, like which, because with these kind of things, that's often like the Pareto principle, like an 80-20 principle. So like 80% of that 5 million, right? 5 million will likely come from like 20% of what is actually there. So there's actually probably like a few titles that make or a few hardware things that make like a lot of money, and then all the rest is kind of like a bit like shoved aside, and like the latter 20%. So I would like to see like a distribution of like what is it that actually pushed it to that number.
Well, the thing you're mentioning here, like Palmer Lucky jumped onto like the chat while the Zuck was posting it, so there was already like some discussion going on about that.
Right. But yeah, like, I know that Superhot did really well because they released some numbers, didn't they? Which we mentioned on the show a few weeks back about they did really well over the Christmas period. But again, like Beat Saber likely did super well, Vader Immortal.
But is it only software, or is it also, for example, Oculus Quest?
So it's just software across Quest and Rift platforms. Okay. Yeah. But just to give you a sort of some perspective, like it took 2 weeks for them to hit 5 million content sales when after the Rift S and the Quest both launched. So it took them 2 weeks after launch, whereas on Christmas Day they smashed it in 1 day. So pretty incredible, really. Alongside VR, they did briefly mention AR, and they just sort of said that on the AR side, we're working on the long-term hardware and operating system. So, they're developing it, which is no, real surprise. They mentioned it at OC6 as well, that, exactly. AR is a big part of their long-term strategy. And they also said, just to kind of summarize a bit about AR and VR, they said the defining characteristic of AR and VR is that they deliver a sense of presence, like you're right there with another person or in another place. This is the holy grail of social experiences, and it's going to let us build things we've only dreamed of for the last 15 years, like letting people interact as if they're in person together, no matter where they are, or letting people live wherever they want and hologram into work so they can access opportunities anywhere and don't have to move to a city or another country to do a job, which I thought was kind of an interesting way of summing it up.
Which works perfectly with your t-shirt, Defy Distance. And and actually, again, for me, it was that little flip in the switch in the brain when you hit immersion, right? When you hit immersion or immersion hits you, like it was for me on a dance floor this week with my wife, and it was like, wow, this is exactly like I used to be in this like seedy London nightclub with my wife, like hanging out. And now I'm doing it in VR, like, and it was the weirdest thing. It's like we're not actually in a club, but I feel like I am, and she's dancing, and I feel like dancing, and it's just like it's nice. And I can't wait till the world, that becomes a fundamental piece of our existence.
Yeah, walking into a nightclub and busting out some epic shapes, and showing the world your epic shapes, like that's gonna be.
Oh God, walking into a
amazing.
nightclub where they're only playing O shape, it's just.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. But yeah, this T-shirt that I'm wearing, Defy Distance, I actually got this when I visited the Facebook campus, because they've got like a little shop there where you can buy Facebook merch, and they also had like a little section in the back for Oculus merch. I thought, well, it's an opportunity here to get some rare T-shirts, so this was one of the ones that I bought. But Defy Distance isn't a tagline that they've used that much. It's normally Defy Reality, which you guys kindly mentioned before we went live. But yeah, I think this is a tagline that I'll probably use when Horizon drops, Defy Distance.
Likely, yeah.
And then when Half-Life drops, the time is now.
Yeah. So that is some epic numbers from Oculus in terms of sales over the Christmas period. So next bit of news, this is more sort of rumors than news. So take everything I'm about to say for the next 5 minutes with a pinch of salt. And I know that Nathie loves it when I talk rumors.
I'm calling it right now.
Yeah, you think so? And this is about Resident Evil 8. So the rumor is there's some information going around the web right now about Resident Evil 8 that is apparently in the works and will have support again for the PSVR system. Now, like I said, we're not sure at this point if it's going to be on the next-gen console and maybe a launch title, or maybe they launch something PSVR related on the next-gen console. We don't know. Or it's going to be original PS4, or it's going to be cross-compatible with both. We just don't know. And again, take all this with a pinch of salt. But since Resident Evil 7, which has been 3 years now since it released on PSVR. Amazing how quickly that time's gone by. And we were all convinced as well back then that it was going to come to PC VR, which of course the Pancake game did, but it never got VR support.
Even Jason Rubin thought that he was able to get it to PC.
Yeah.
It happened.
Just didn't happen. Nope. Didn't happen, which was gutting. And I had to sort of cave in the end, and kindly Nathie gave me a PSVR and I got to experience it for myself. So thank you for showing me the way, Nathie.
Showing you the true horrors of Resident Evil 7. Like,
I haven't been able to sleep properly since, so thank you for that.
Thank you, Nathie.
But yeah, like Resident Evil 7 was the last game, like, in the series that they made. Of course, they've been making remakes of the older games, the classic games, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because I loved Resident Evil 2 remake. It was one of my favorite Pancake games of last year. Very excited for Resident Evil 3 remake as well, which is coming out later this year. But these rumors about Resident Evil 8, we've got some snippets of information about the main character and location, which kind of gives it some credibility, but again, just take it with a pinch of salt. So this information was supposedly leaked to a Resident Evil fan site called Biohazard Declassified, and here are the details that they provided. So the first rumor is that Ethan, the main protagonist from the original Resident Evil 7, will be returning as a playable character in Resident Evil 8. So that's the first rumor. The second rumor is that it won't be called Resident Evil 8, but it will have a clever title, in inverted commas, a clever title. So who knows what that means.
This feels like we're playing Werewolves Within, where they're like, you're not getting all the
what's
facts.
A lie, what's fact.
Is it going to be as clever as the PlayStation 5 logo?
Could well be. Surprise everyone.
Instead of 8, it's just going to be VIII.
Maybe.
Whoa.
Maybe. The game will be in first person, like Resident Evil 7, suggesting that VR will also be supported again. Apparently, the gameplay starts in a village leading up to a castle, and the environment will be rural, snowy, and mountainous, possibly in Europe.
Horrible.
Which is giving me Resident Evil 4 vibes.
I was going to say 5 on the description of the village, because there was that fella in the bell tower who had a chainsaw that came at you.
That was 4, wasn't it?
I'm gonna have to Google. Yeah.
They did have guys with chainsaws in 5 as well, I think. I've played them all, but they all become sort of merge into one. But yeah, regular zombies will be appearing instead of the molded kind of swampy zombies from Resident Evil 7, which I'm happy with, because I wasn't a big fan of that enemy design, to be honest.
Yeah, 4. Yeah, you're right, Mike.
Oh, it was? Okay. I just like my zombies regular. You know, don't want to mess
Regular?
with.
You
Regular.
You like them regular. That's
Regular.
how you take your sandwich, you know.
Exactly.
You
Don't
like
mess
them,
with it.
You like them petite.
I would love a Resident Evil 8 in VR. I don't mind if it's still restrained to the same platform. Just because Resident Evil sold so many PSVR systems.
Exactly.
And they deserve the support. And actually now, because Oculus has been gaining strength with the Quest and that, like, we don't just have a monopoly, but we have two like real big VR platforms, and I would love to see both strengthen. So, yeah, Resident Evil. But I do want to see what the PSVR 2
we need it. We need it desperately right now.
I still think it's going to be. I think Nathie and I were chatting about this yesterday. Wireless. You know,
Yeah,
I think it's going to be a tetherless, rechargeable headset that you just pick off of a dock and throw it on your head.
Oh, so you can go to Europe, go to this snowy place, and then play it there.
Yeah. But those two over here, they need a visa for that.
Oh yeah, that's gonna be a problem. But hey, Mike just mentioned that they use kayaks to travel around. So
Exactly. I got my military kayak all prepared for my doomsday prepping now.
It's not again. I almost died the last time.
Yeah. So right, rumor 7. There is a persistent, shadowy female enemy that will follow you, but will not dissipate if shot.
oh no, is it gonna be like an enemy like you saw in Fear? You know, like a little
Alma.
Yeah.
Well, actually,
Right,
Chat was
like
just talking about Fear earlier. Like, is
Oh.
there a Fear VR game? And I don't think there's been a Fear mod or anything made yet.
Fear. That's a long time ago.
I just get like flashbacks to that Resident Evil 7 mother with like, you know, the spider kind of like creature.
Oh god, yeah, that was
my-
horrible. That was horrible. It was the way she moved. It was hideous.
Like the first time you like peek into the tunnel and you just like, oh, like,
Actually,
horrid.
Gamertag and I came across something like that in the forest. A real kind of
Oh, yeah.
spindly, spidery, horrible,
Yeah.
you know, milky white skin type thing.
That's horrible.
On my type.
Yeah, it looked a lot like you,
that's your
actually,
type?
Rowdy. It did look like you.
that's like your regular type.
Yeah, for sure.
So, rumor number 8. There are also going to be wolf-like creatures that will attack the player in certain areas. And number 9, which is the final rumor, is that Chris Redfield will be returning in some capacity.
wow! Now that's a real rumor right there.
Yeah. But some, like, you know, these rumors, they're kind of pretty generic, nothing too surprising. So, could all be speculation at this point. But it's exciting.
Sorry, is Chris, is he the blonde-haired, like, cop guy who's out of the K-pop band? No?
No. He's got, like, dark hair.
Dark hair.
Dark hair.
What a description.
Like, he's
know
like
exactly
a generic
who that's
buff
in
dude with
Mentos.
dark hair.
Now,
Oh,
now-
yeah. Yeah,
not
looks,
a
it's
real-
like Mike with hair, without a beard.
Oh, well, that explains a lot.
Mike with hair without a beard.
Buff. I like that, yeah.
So-
I said the word buff and he, like, talked about me, so I'm going to take that.
That's it.
So, do you think let's say if they would bring it to the PlayStation VR 2, and I'm sure they will. I really believe so, because you know it sold so many copies for VR standards, a lot, and in like the one that you can play now, Resident Evil 7, you know, Biohazard, it's like you play it with a gamepad, you know, with a controller, and even then it was still like super fun to play, impressive even, but let's say the next one drops, are they going the motion controller route?
I think so. I think they have to. And I think for a launch of a new console, I think this is a great big hit for them. And I think even Upload did an article saying, you know, this is kind of what they need coming out the gates, really strong with some great titles, you know, that you can only get on their platform. And like you said, you know, about the competition with Oculus, makes total sense. So I would
don't know
be
about that.
disappointed if it doesn't happen.
Since, I mean, like, competition for Oculus, but at the same time, those Resident Evil games, the Resident Evil 7 didn't hit the VR store, so even if you had an Oculus or you wanted to play it, you wouldn't be able to play it. So, like, just bringing it out on PlayStation and bringing it out for the PlayStation VR then as well, people who want to play it will still buy it and play it on the PlayStation VR, even if there's no new version.
And on that point, I got this spawns an idea in my head. Like, why is there not an emulator for PSVR, for PC VR games? Like, why hasn't
really hard
coders, please work harder?
Please.
Make it happen,
Please.
please.
Yeah.
Now.
No, but they know what these kind of like, I think like Sony, if they start with the PlayStation VR 2, like content wise, they're so strong. Even Facebook will have a hard time competing with them because they're like, if you look at the last few years, how they have been publishing titles, it's freaking crazy. Like Facebook didn't even come close with the titles they made. They made some cool stuff, okay, but compared to Sony, it's a
But
different
that's what I'm
ballgame,
saying.
man.
I would find it strange if they would change now because they know they already have the market. I don't think they're gonna come out with a PSVR anytime soon. I don't think so.
You don't think they'll bring a second generation one out anytime soon? Is that what you're saying?
I don't think
This
so.
year, no.
Yeah.
No.
Well, we already know that
This
the
year for
original
sure not.
PSVR will be backwards compatible, of course. So maybe they'll
Yeah.
just stick with that. But I think really the PSVR needs a refresh. We've
I
been saying
agree
this for a long time now.
but I don't think they're gonna do it because they don't need to
Interesting.
at this point in time.
It's interesting, yeah, because like I mean, to be honest, they've made the Move controllers work a lot longer than I was expecting. They could definitely make the PSVR continue to work better. I just would
Well,
love to see a hardware refresh on it.
Let's say that if they, instead of doing a new PSVR headset, they would only bring out new controllers. I think people would be
I would be
content
happy
with
with that. Yeah, I'd be
Yeah.
happy with that new tracking.
Why? That would be a shame for the new hardware you put into a console, I think.
True.
But yeah,
I don't know. It's already old hardware that is in there.
I think they will. Maybe not at launch, but very soon after, I think we'll see a PSVR 2. I think
Can you imagine, like, we're waiting and then they are finally going to reveal something and it's like new, these VR controllers with like new lights on them, a different color, blinking.
Yeah.
I'd love for it to happen, but I'm very doubtful on it.
I would love to see the rage in chat as they unveil the PSVR 2 and it's still using the Move controllers.
Oh, God knows.
Even I
They
would
can't.
cry. I know I'm a
Yeah, I
huge
would cry.
defender of them, but it would be
There's no way. There's no way they would do
stake to
that.
the heart.
There's no way. We'll speak to Uncle Frank. Make sure he gets the message across. But yeah, that is some rumors about Resident Evil 8. Whether it comes out or not, I think it would be a great launch title for their new hardware if they brought out a PSVR 2, or even if they just sort of push some feature that was, maybe more graphically, intense on, the PS5 with the original PSVR, but some feature that, makes it worthwhile buying this game on the new hardware.
Remember, on this show, the rumors that we usually talk about become a reality. So enjoy until, it finally happens.
Yeah, there you go. Final bit of news this week is about GTA 5. Many of you might already know there's an excellent mod for this game that allows it to be played in virtual reality. And Nathie covered it in a video a while back, right?
Yeah, I did.
What did you think of this sort of mod back then?
It was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing.
Like 2-3 months ago, right?
Yeah, I think so. So basically, GTA with a controller, a gamepad, or a mouse and keyboard, positional tracking, you could just look out the window, shoot, stuff like that. Of course, arcadey in the sense, no motion controllers, but for what it is, it's great. It was working fine. So all the tweaks they made, it only got better from there.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. If you want to check out some gameplay, by the way, go and check out Nathie's video because it's really awesome, like, showcase of all the amazing things you can do, from like flying a plane, riding a motorbike, driving cars, shooting, getting involved in shootouts.
It's insane.
You got everything in there. Great video. But the main issue, I think, the feedback from the community about this mod was particularly around cutscenes, because they were really uncomfortable to watch, right? Because I think because obviously the cutscene's designed to be watched on a normal monitor, when you watch it in VR, you had this kind of zoomed in close-up camera effect that would cause like uncomfortable feeling, motion sickness. So a lot of people were just skipping through that, which made it kind of difficult to play through normally as you would naturally, right? Yeah. Well, the guy behind the mod, a Reddit user by the name of Luke Ross 00, he's been working really hard behind the scenes to improve the experience with even more support and added functionality, and he's just released version 4 of this mod. And this mod, one of the updates, it greatly improves the cutscenes situation, along with making it easier to aim down the sights, entering cars, and other scripted animations, making them more comfortable for the VR user and smoother as well. Also, one of the original things was that when the mod released, it was only originally working on the Rift platform, like Rift or Rift S.
Yeah.
But now it also works with any Steam VR headset, so you can also use this mod with the Vive, Index, Pimax, or Windows MR as well, which is really neat. like Nathie said, nothing's changed in terms of like motion controller support, unfortunately, which I know a lot of people really wanted, but he said that it just wasn't possible unless Rockstar really like fundamentally changed the game.
I mean,
there have been mods who do that though.
Yeah, there was a mod, but the thing is, it's, as Mike said, there are cutscenes and everything. It's super complicated to make that work really nicely.
I tried this. I actually tried this mod today, so the new version, and honestly, I had a less than ideal experience to say the least. Like first off, the first problem I ran into was with installing it. Although it is a one file kind of drag in that you need to do. That's all you need to do. But then you also need to do like a settings config, which is in there as well. But that only kind of works, I think, if you have it in the same working directory as it's normally. Yes. Otherwise, you still need to do the manual transition to like the file transfer. But then when I booted up the game, and I thought I could select the high settings since I have a GTX 2080 Ti and albeit an older i7 processor, but the performance for me was unplayable. Like I couldn't play the game. It was a frame rate of maybe 10 to 15 frames per second, and every time I turned my head, I had like big black borders that would like jump in. So that wouldn't work for me. Then when I set it to medium settings, I had a fairly smooth experience. I wouldn't say. I think I would maybe just hit like 60 frames per second, roughly around that mark at the medium settings. The only annoying thing is that because I was trying to optimize it and I got it running fairly smoothly, that it was playable, albeit like very arcadey, like Nathie said as well. I still wanted to try and tweak the in-game settings in order to get a better experience. And even though my graphics card was only at maybe 10 to 20% of being used, I couldn't like push it much higher. I don't know why. Maybe it's my processor that is being maxed out. There must be a bottleneck somewhere, but I can't see it in the game kind of settings. Because you only get like the graphics card kind of output, how much that is being taxed. So I don't know.
There's a question in chat for both of you guys. So is this mod then, is it sixed off? If you take a side step, does your character move to the left? Like,
no. What happens is that your head will indeed move to the left, but the body will stay there.
Yeah,
so if you move out, you will see your body.
Yeah, the body doesn't move with your. It's detached.
Yeah, the body doesn't move. The hand does move. So I mean, in that way, it's sixed off, but it's far from ideal from what you would actually want to experience.
What I did hear that worked really well. I was speaking to Tyriel Wood, who tried this just in the last couple of days. Was the driving mods? You can actually mod so that you've actually got full wheel and pedal support in the cars, and I was. Again, as a driver, I'm very interested in that. And I've held off of GTA and I almost applied to Rockstar here because they're in Edinburgh, because they've worked on VR, and GTA 5 was rolling out around the same time. And it was like, surely someone in that company is going to be tinkering with this. I'm going to hold off. And I'm still holding off, but I'll wait for this to get perfect. I think
the driving is very much like the gameplay experience. It's very arcadey in a way. Like it's not like a realistic kind of feeling that you get from driving those kind of cars.
But it's fun. The game has a lot of mod support, so I'm sure some people actually injected some real physics.
But like the developer of this mod says as well, like if you start mixing mods with this mod,
that's true.
Be prepared that stuff will break, because that will likely happen. So.
Yeah,
that's just
and also don't go online with this one.
No, that's a really good
banned,
point.
Right?
Yeah, you
get banned.
Or I don't think it's even gonna boot up in the first place, but just don't try. Just don't.
But although it doesn't have full motion controller support, like we mentioned, you can use a steering wheel or a gamepad.
It's amazing. It really is.
And I think the big benefit.
Personally, I wouldn't play it though. Like without but I said it before, like I said it about Subnautica, I've said it about other games. If it doesn't have those motion controllers, for me, it's not worth to really invest so much time. I would still prefer to play it than on just a regular. I'm going to play it though. I'm going to play it in VR. I'm going to try and do something with it. But it's not for me in the way that it's like I'm immediately as I jumped in, I was like, oh, I miss like reloading a gun. I miss picking something up. I miss throwing something. I miss bashing someone in the face. But that all being taken away is a little bit too much for me to really still like enjoy the virtual reality experience.
This is hard though. Like this is the same thing I run into with sim racing, where people they'll get used to the fast refresh rate of a display, and they'll say VR is still not there yet. Like I don't have the panel density, I don't have the refresh rate, and I can't let those things go away. And I've found for the last at least year and a half that's been that's been Rowdy. The conversation that Rowdy and I typically have is like, doesn't have the right motion controls. I'm like, feck that, I don't care. I'm in the game, I'm in VR, that's all I care about. I can move my head around, I'm good. But just Trevor Jones has mentioned the mod that you need if you want to drive with it. And this is the same one that Tyrael mentioned to me. Thank you, Trevor. It's manual transmission mod. That
there you go.
Yeah.
Best
And
thing ever.
I would just say that the reason why I'm eager to try this, and now particularly to try it, and it doesn't bother me so much about the motion controls, is that Rockstar made an incredibly detailed, rich world with Los Santos in GTA 5, and it's unparalleled. Like, you can't experience that in a VR game right now because the budgets aren't as high. So it will just be interesting for me to sit in that world, look at all the NPCs walking around, look at the planes going across, the dynamic, weather effects and daytime night cycles. And
I think this VR mod is even more enjoyable if you've actually played GTA 5, because you have certain landmarks that you recognize and things that you've been before, and you know kind of where to go, and you understand the game a bit better. And that makes it is really cool though to put on a headset and be into Los Santos. That is really cool. And
I just think that, like Mike was describing there, his stepping in, watching the pedestrians and all that, and I just imagine him going, this is exactly what Horizon's going to be like in like 10 years.
No, Mike was like, okay, where's the strippers bar here?
Well, exactly. Horizon in 10 years.
No, but if you want to have a wonderful time next to exploring the open world of Los Santos, you can also, look up a video or a website where they have like the top 10 missions of GTA. That's what I did. I played the first best 4. It's just great, being able to chase down a train, for example, and re-experiencing that in VR. I think it's awesome.
Are those like jump links? Are you jumping to that mission, or is it just telling you what missions to do that are best in VR?
Exactly, that last, but not in VR in particular, just Pancake. But if you finish the whole game, you can just go back to all the missions.
There we go.
Oh, there's like a selector at the end, like chapter almost.
Yeah, you can just play everything again.
Yeah.
After 80 hours, that's what you get.
But I completed the game previously, so that's why I'm kind of looking forward to going back.
Dude, I spent so much time in the online world. I think I have like 1,500 hours on Steam playing this game.
Wow.
It's amazing, spending so much time with my friends. So I would love to see also this mod coming to the online version, because
doing a heist together would be amazing. Dude. Yeah, absolutely.
I've never played it or GTA 5 online. How does it compare to GTA 4 or GTA 3?
It's next level.
I
had to even wait for 2 years because it first came out on PlayStation, right, and Xbox, I think, and then it finally came to PC. So I was like waiting for that, and since this week I started playing Red Dead Redemption 2. Holy shit, that's an epic game too.
That's another one that I'm waiting for, because it's like, when you
there's so much going on. There's like so much going on. As Mike said, it's like
it's fine.
I love open world.
I will wait until I have the time in my life.
Let's not talk about Red Dead. Let's not get into that.
Sorry, next time.
We're never going to talk to Nathie about China ever. But if you're interested to check out GTA 5 in VR, we've added a link in the description below. And like Rowdy said, installation's fairly simple, but you just be prepared to tweak a few things to get it running right.
And I linked it in chat a little bit earlier so people can grab it.
Yeah, so props again to the creator, Reddit user Luke Ross 00. So that is the news this week. Let's hand it now to Zim for the releases to look forward to. I have no idea what's coming out next week. So,
this is less of a look forward to week, Mike. Less of a look forward to week.
Okay.
More of a, holy shit, are these really games? Okay.
Okay. Let's go for it.
First one. And this one takes itself actually more seriously than the name suggests. The name is Drying Paint Simulator VR. Okay.
Oh god.
Wait, is this a game where you watch paint dry, much like you watch grass grow?
To an extent. So, after a long and cold journey, the artist has finally arrived at his deserted cabin in the woods. The perfect peaceful place to create his final masterpiece.
Okay.
The artist's magnum opus, right? Drying Paint Simulator VR is the narrated, exhilarating story of an artist enjoying creating their last painting. And it's the ominous element of this, the mystery, that it basically, for those watching the video, it's a bit like having a VR version of MS Paint mixed with, whatever that graffiti game was. where you're sat in a cabin.
Wait. Is it the video? It starts with the guy cooking something in a pan, like I don't know, like a pizza or a stew or something, and then he throws it out, or he throws it at the painting, or is that like part of the artwork? Or
So you actually the weirdest thing is this is like Lonely Cabin Simulator plus VR Microsoft Paint, and they even mention. They say take shelter from the raging snowstorm right outside in this cozy candlelit cabin. Lots of interactivity in the cabin for you to enjoy. But note that some weird locals seem to appear at night. So, and people, it's so funny because like they posted this trailer and people are like, hang on a second, I like painting games, but I don't want jump scares. Are they going to kill me? Like, what is this game?
That makes it very interesting suddenly.
I'm really interested in this game because initially I was like, okay, this is going to be a throwaway title. Like what Rowdy said, there was a grass simulator, in 2D you could play. I thought this was going to be a throwaway. And now I'm actually intrigued.
Because of the night part, you mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's not expensive. It is. So this is launched on Steam. PCVR headsets can play it. It's only £2.89. It's about $3.50 in dollars. It's by Fade, launched on the 24th of January, so this launched a week ago. But I thought that had to feature. We had to talk about it.
You know where you can watch the live stream of this one, so you don't have to spend the money yourself.
Yeah, bastard. Right, next one. For our PSVR friends, because things have seemingly slowed down quite a bit on PlayStation over the last couple of months. Not too much landing there tonight.
Oh,
sorry.
That sounded more exciting than it was. Was it like just the keys or something?
Yeah, exactly.
It's because we're getting a new headset. That's why things are slowing down. That's my prediction.
Yeah, no, not this year. Let's see. Anyway, this is Viking Days. So, Viking Days, which is another cheap piece of software, launched on PSVR. It's exclusive there. £5, almost $6, from VR Monkey on the 28th of January. This is. But it puts the reality into the Vikings' life. So you are challenged through a series of 10 escalating minigames, which include drinking mead, forging swords, throwing axes at targets, hunting for dragons, etc. The list goes on. So it is to put you in the shoes of a real Viking's life. And if you ever thought, hey, I don't have enough Viking in my life, this is for you. So it's a short kind of mini game title.
Though.
Yeah,
the art style of it is great.
It looks like Asgard's Wrath was made with Roblox.
Yeah, that is a brilliant example, Mike, because I was going to say, this actually, if you didn't have enough of that Asgard's Wrath mechanic, where you go from being a human form into a godly form, this is kind of it. And actually, you've actually just linked me into our next title without even knowing it. Look at that.
Mind meld.
I actually played this one, but let's not go into it.
Okay. Okay. The next one. This sounds like a horrible blockbuster film. This is Sharkferno. So Sharkferno. All the headsets get something this week. This is on Oculus Rift. For £1.49, Sharkferno. You can switch between a flying drone and a human to take and survive. There is an island with villagers, needy villagers, being attacked by flying sharks. You must take a very serious role as a flying drone who has a flamethrower on board to take down the sharks and save the people. Once you've saved all the sharks, you get the serenity of the island. You can fly around. This one's been in the works for more than a year. Launched on the 30th of January by Clockworks Games.
Is there an explanation why the sharks go from the water and swim through the air on the land?
There is no explanation. There was literally like a 2-line explanation of this, and the funniest part that I find, and this is weird, is that the developer who was taking comments, very nasty Reddit comments, by the way, on this one, having seen the visuals, they're pretty rough. But aside from the premise being totally unfounded, they produced this trailer a year ago and then used that as their launch trailer again. So the game must have done some progress, I imagine, in that time. That said,
well, the baseline is pretty good, I would say.
It does. It's great. I mean,
I do like the storyline of this one.
I just
Shark
feel
Furno,
terrible.
sorry, not Sharknado.
I feel terrible for someone tuning in. Like, say if this is like, someone's got a VR headset that they like want an informative VR podcast. They tune into the show. They're like, yeah, having a
Look
great
at
time.
this.
These are the releases that we offer them.
Imagine even worse. You buy an Oculus Rift S in the store because you have been seeing these defy reality, defy distance commercials, and then in the end you end up with this stuff. You buy it because it's on the store apparently. But I don't know, like Jason Rubin left. Maybe this is a result of that.
This is the thing. They got greenlit for the store. It's like scary. They greenlit this. Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, so Drying Pain Simulator, Viking Days, and Shark Furno can all be had for less than a tenner.
It's not been one of our finest weeks in VR, I have to say.
But well,
we're not finished yet. So
okay, sorry.
The patches and other news.
Wait. This was not the bottom line.
This was not the bottom of the barrel. We have more. More to come. All right, few highlights. Right, first off, I'm going to mention a big thing that I've been playing actually on Quest. Got the patch update that Mike mentioned a little bit earlier. Someone in chat has been playing. Arizona Sunshine, a cooperative zombie shooter, just got a free content update, so you can play in that dark, dingy mine in a kind of, again, a Left 4 Dead type style. They got a content update in Horde mode, so four players can take on this lovely bit of the game. It's actually the darkest and I would suggest the scariest bit of the base game. So that's come out this week. So that's one bit.
Well, I don't know. This is not as good as the Shark one, sorry.
Yeah.
Hard to push past that. I'll keep trying. We got a couple of others. PlayStation owners who are PlayStation Plus members can get their hands on a copy of Firewall Zero Hour, my personal favorite VR FPS, this month. Starting from February 4th through to the 2nd of March, you get the option to grab a free copy of Firewall, which is amazing. And it does work with the DualShock. So you don't have to have the aim controller, although I would say go out and get one. If on the stores like in Game and Amazon, it's still selling bundled with Firewall for about £80. Yeah. So it's not cheap. And I hear supply is kind of short if you're trying to get an aim controller. So if you are interested, I would suggest get one now before everybody gets a taster of Firewall and goes out and empties the shops like happened when Firewall landed. There's another great game that I would recommend if you're into first-person shooters and looking for something for your aim controller, which is Farpoint. Fantastic, about 8-hour-long story. Great online multiplayer as well. Still has players. So,
well, if you do run out of let's say an aim controller, you can also play BioShock for free, the collection. It's pancake, I know, but as someone unbiased, I would say that's also fun.
So that's one of the 5 free games that's coming. I saw The Sims 4 and a few other games. Obviously, it's one of those things where once you're subscribed to it, they feed you more games than you can probably play in a month anyway. Couple more little bits of quick game release news, and then we're done. So firstly, I'm puzzled why we didn't get Ghost Giant on Quest in December or January. Still no signs of it. No updates from the development team. You guys heard anything?
Good point. I completely forgot about it, actually. And it's a shame because I played that game on PSVR and I absolutely loved it.
Sounds like Oculus is holding it off.
That's what I think. I think it's a quality gated thing, or I don't know. But yeah, that's one to keep an eye out for because I have a feeling it's going to drop with little for notice, and maybe this month. Final thing, so Beat Saber has a few new songs that have dropped. They've reorganized it in the menu. So there's an artist called Camellia, and there's some new songs, and they're feckin' hard. Try them if you're into hard Beat Saber songs. Free update. Go check your Beat Saber. And the final thing I'll say, which in support of Audica, which I got a chance to play this week along with my wife competitively, I was really surprised that Audica landed with 32 songs. If you think back to Beat Saber and most other Beat games, they usually land with 10 songs. That library of songs dropping with the Quest version of Audica, I think is incredibly fair, represents great value. And I did play it with my sub pack, and someone earlier was asking me to call out what that feels like. It's a great combination with a sub pack if you've got one. That's no surprise, but I think they did a very good job with Audica on Quest.
Yeah, just quickly, just wanted to chime in about haptics and the sub pack, because I covered the B haptics again this week, particularly with Quest, because Thrill of the Fight and Sorrento had native B haptic support, which was a really great experience, by the way. But I mentioned the kind of comparison with sub pack in my kind of video, and I sort of said that sub pack gives you like a big bassy feeling on your back, which kind of vibrates throughout your whole body. It's like standing next to a speaker in a concert. That's the kind of feeling it gives you, which is perfect for music rhythm games like Pistol Whip, Audica, Beat Saber, of course. Whereas the B haptics is a different sensation. It's more of a vibration sensation, but it's more precise and can offer you one-to-one feedback based on where you're hit or where you're punched, for example.
Or touched lightly by an Asian girl.
Yeah,
that as well.
Yeah. Wasn't it your first experience, Mike, with the sub pack with Voodoo?
And mine was that too.
With the B haptics?
The B haptics at your place, yeah. If you want to laugh, like check out Voodoo D's channel where we both visited Nathie in the Netherlands and got to try the B haptics vest for the first time with an Asian girl touching us. It was very, very hilarious.
She did a lot more than just touching.
Yeah, but let's not go into that. Otherwise, we'll get demonetized on the channel.
So that's it for this week. As I said, I loved it. Week of Vikings, shark furnos, and paint drying.
Wow.
Lovely week. So now I guess it's time to pass over to Nathie. Tell us more about your adventure in China.
Yeah, sure.
So what do you want to start off with, like another highlight or?
So last week I was already kind of hinting towards this Beat Saber machine, this multiplayer Beat Saber machine. Now, for a while now, Beat Games is selling arcade cabinets. It's very similar to the one from Dance Dance Revolution back in the days, but instead you can play Beat Saber on it. And these have been spotted in different places, from, for example, 2-Bit Circus in LA, VR arcade, but also in Chinese shopping malls where they just put one there and people can play on it. So these arcade machines are nothing new, I would say, although they are hard to spot. Let's say, for example, in the Netherlands, they have, I think, 2, but I've never really seen one just, out of nowhere. You really got to search for them.
I immediately have a question though about it. They sync it up like really nicely, as you see in your video. Is that something that is done internally, or is that something that you need to do yourself and like say like, okay, 3, 2, 1, start?
Yeah. So before I get into that, the Beat Saber machine that I just mentioned is the official one, and it's for one person only. So you can only play it on it like, single player, because as you may know, Beat Saber on itself is not a multiplayer game. It's not a local multiplayer. It's not online, nothing. It's just you play the game. That's it. Like Zim, he plays it side by side, but in the end, it's them pushing a button at the same time.
But still, that makes it so much more fun to do it, because I remember when I was at Lonely Viper's wedding, we all brought like our Quest and we lined up like with four or five people, and we all started together. We made a video of that, and it looked so cool to have everyone do like the same kind of thing, like synchronize.
Yeah,
so nice.
Yeah, so the official one is for one person per play, and the one you see here on the video is one that has 2 platforms, and people can play together. And the way this works is that there are 2 computers inside, and they communicate with each other over a server, so you can play it online. And it shares also the score to the other player. So if Zim has the high score, I can see it, and the other way around. So you can also compete while you play. So this machine, it gets sold somewhere. I can't give you details on where, but they are not that expensive compared to the official one, and that's why for some arcades this is an easier option to get. It's also not called Beat Saber. There is I don't know what it's called, like Dance something, but it doesn't have the Beat Saber logo on there. But that's all stripped away. But if you compare it to the official one, it's very, very similar.
But isn't that illegal?
that is indeed illegal. Although they're not really chasing anyone down with those machines. It's the same with arcades, and this is what almost every arcade does, is they have a license to get people playing Beat Saber, right? But there are some arcades out there who are not paying this license, so they just buy the game once and then let people play it. Well, just like Spotify, if you listen to an artist, you pay per time you pretty much listen to it, and that's what we call a subscription, right? So arcades can also buy a subscription. In this case, this Beat Saber game is completely modified. You could play songs on it that were not the official ones. These were just like we did with side quests, where you could just pick all the different songs and you could just play whatever you wanted. So you could go for Martin Garrix and Panic at the Disco before it became an official thing.
Well, what they likely did is just remade the game, right?
No. It's like a mod. This multiplayer thing has been made by the community. You can download mods where you have like custom swords, custom avatars. Another one is where you can have multiplayer and you can play with others.
That's what people
already around for a while. I never knew it was a thing. But
that's what people in chat were asking. They were saying, is this a multiplayer mod that's available for PC?
It's somewhere. I don't know where, but it's out there. Yeah.
And the other question was, which I think is a no, are you able to see the other player in Beat Saber with you?
No. Yeah. No. And something that was also not shown anymore is that on the screen you could see two people playing at the same time, but because of course copyright stuff, they couldn't do that anymore, because there is a company who sells arcade machines for Beat Games in China. It's not Beat Games themselves who do it. It's like someone else. It's like a total separate company that kind of licensed of like the Beat Saber brand. But I do think that if let's say this company is smart, who makes the official ones, that they also do this, because Beat Saber with someone else is super social, really fun, especially in China. It's something people want to do, and it pops in the eye. It's very cool to watch. I think seeing one person play is kind of interesting, but having two people, like Dance Dance Revolution, where people are battling each other, that's amazing. So I think even that it's maybe not official, this person who made it came up with a genius idea. It's really cool.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to sell VR. Just like I was saying about Zim streams, when you watch and the movements are kind of synchronized, it's almost hypnotic to watch,
Yeah.
It's just great. It's like watching like a really great choreographed dance routine, like Thriller, for example, the Thriller video.
Yeah.
So it's got that real sort of appeal to it. I just think it's amazing. And I guess it's probably not too surprising that they would do this in China, but it's interesting how they got the official game, then modded it to do it what they wanted it to do.
Yeah, but it's not that hard, You have Steam VR, you download the game, and that's how I met so many arcade owners not paying a license. And I told them every time, shame on you, because in the end, these developers, they work really hard on their game. Yeah. They should get paid for it every time someone plays on it. And that's still a problem that I hope will be solved in the future. We have Springboard, this is like a subscription service that arcades can use. But in China, Springboard is not present. So they don't even have the option to do it. So this owner and also other owners said, like, we really want to pay. We really want to do it the legit way. But right now, there is no one offering this service. And that's what you constantly see. The bridge between the Western market and the Asian market is very, vague. And not a lot of people spend time on that. So just saying, it's not like they want to copyright everything and whatever.
But it's also because of politics, of course. Huh?
Yeah, of course.
It's not that easy for a Western company to get something like that into China.
No, but just to kind of, because some people have the idea, Chinese people, they just copy and they don't care. That's not true.
They don't have the means to do it legitimately.
No.
Yeah.
If they
I do wonder if there's like a world record synchronized Beat Saber coming up or something. Like, like 100 people on Oculus Quest, like all doing the same thing.
It's interesting you mention that, because this is an idea that me and Nathie actually talked about before the last Oculus Connect, right?
Yeah.
We actually reached out to Oculus to try and organize an official and break an official world record, but they weren't that interested in being a part of it, unfortunately, which was a real shame, which is ironic now because they ended up buying them, which would have been great marketing for them. So it's kind of interesting that you mentioned that. But I think multiplayer in Beat Saber will be a feature that we get soon-ish, I would say. It's the next logical evolution of Beat Saber, right? It's something that the community has always been asking for. Being able to see a friend in virtual reality whilst you're playing competitively together or cooperatively, like taking segments of the track each.
That's That's what
of
Half
course
Plus
it's gonna
Half
happen.
did. You know,
Yeah.
Half Plus Half has like this Beat Saber kind of esque mini game, and that's where you can see someone else, you know, in front of you doing the moves. So
Yeah.
I agree. So this is an example of, you know, something that needs to happen, even if it's, you know, official. So yeah, like I never saw a machine like that before, and I did some comparisons with the one that I played on last year. Yeah, it's crazy how much the same it is. It's just that there's more space, more platforms. They're using a Vive Pro instead of. I think the headset you get with the official one is a Windows MR one. I don't know which one, but the one they are using is the Vive Pro. Does the trick, of course, because I mean, base stations versus inside out with, you know, MR is still, you know, superior in that case. So yeah, that's the Beat Saber machine. It's one of the first things I got to see when I came to China. The other thing, yeah.
I'm just gonna ask how many of them did you run across? Like how difficult was it to track down the legit Beat Saber machines, or is there like a website you go to and it says we're in these malls? Like how do you find it?
Well, the thing is, I can't really highlight how you get them, but there is definitely a way. You know, you ask around, and before you know it, you can buy a few. It's just that, like most of the time, I see official ones. This was the first time I saw one that wasn't. You know, this person who owned the arcade, he was watching my videos. He knew I was coming to China. I said like, hey, I have an arcade. I was like, well, you know, arcades, like I've seen a lot already. So I just said like, okay, just show me, like send me a couple of pictures of the machines you have. And then one of the pictures was like Beat Saber. And then I saw like two persons playing on. I was like, is this multiplayer? I said, yeah, it's online, this and that, blah, blah, blah. I was like, okay, yeah, sure. So I came to his arcade to just check that out. And it was a very small arcade, you know, people... since the VR Star Park video I made, people think about arcades as like these big things, but they can be very small. Like just one VR Beat Saber machine can be enough to call it an arcade in a way. This one had like, you know, the Beat Saber machine, and they also had a 4-player zombie experience that they made in-house. They made it themselves. So it's really cool to see that that these arcades are everywhere, especially in shopping malls. Every shopping mall I went to, there was a VR arcade.
Huh.
Every arcade. Yeah.
Thanks.
So yeah, that's the Beat Saber multiplayer cabinet machine, whatever you call it. Seems legit, right? And next thing I wanted to highlight is Dexmo. Dexta Robotics is working on force feedback gloves for quite a while now. They have been around for ages, since I think the Oculus Rift DK1, they have been experimenting with haptics, and they are based in Shenzhen. Again, it's like a tech capital of China. And I saw their stuff on Twitter. I was like, hey, can I, you know, come over, check it out? They were familiar with the stuff I made. That's usually a lot easier to then, you know, get your way in. But yeah, it was super chill. You know, I got to try their haptic VR glove called Dexmo. And the Dexmo is pretty much a, let's say, exoskeleton, a claw that goes over your hands. And with that, you can feel almost everything. You can, well, feel the haptics of an object moving, but you can also grab it and feel its shape. So it's not just, hey, I feel the vibrations. No, I can also grab it and feel the shape. So the fingers, they align with the object itself. They adapt to what's going on. Next to that, you can also feel the surface of things. So if you have wood or stone, you can feel that it's more rocky or less. So it's an all-in-one package. And most of the gloves I tried before, like Manas and also a few others, they are very good at one thing. Well, with this, they're trying to not be good at one thing, but they're trying to
range.
They're going for the bigger picture. And I'm sure that most who see like this video now, they're like, why does this glove look so big? Why does it have a claw shape? Well, the thing is, the ones that you saw in Ready Player One, it's not a reality yet. It's pure CGI, of course. Manas is trying it and some others. But then you just go for one factor, and that is like, the grabbing motion, and then maybe feeling what's going on in your fingertips. But this one is doing everything.
Yeah, because they use that kind of exoskeleton to restrict the finger's movement, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's how they give you the feeling of simulating the shape of an object. And this is exactly like, and Zim's mentioned it before, where he's worried about wearing a glove like this that is going to give him like a saw type experience and rip his fingers off. But I think, something like this, I haven't tried anything like this before, and I'm very keen to try it out to see if this would translate well for like a game like Half-Life Alyx, although it probably unlikely ever get support. But that feeling of, can you replicate the feeling of a pistol grip with something like this realistically,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I find it even more interesting that there's like, you saw in the video with like the water drops.
It's awesome.
When the water drops are falling, like it moves your finger.
Yeah.
So it actually simulates like I don't think a water drop would move your finger, but you get the idea. Like what they're trying to insinuate is like that they can actually get that feedback into your finger, which I think is pretty cool though.
Yeah, it's amazing. You could feel it beating hard, and your fingers would pulse with, the motion.
Yeah.
You could play piano. And I should also highlight that this is mainly for enterprises.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
Although, if you watch the video that I published on my channel, we're talking about it coming to the gaming scene too. They want to, but the market right now is, of course, not suitable for that. But yeah, it's possible. And it's funny that you mentioned Half-Life Alyx. There was this one prototype that he worked on that looks exactly like the glove she's wearing.
That's awesome. So it's like taped together and a bit sort of like hacked together sort of look. Yeah. It's funny when you mentioned holding the beating heart, I just had this vision in my mind of playing like a Mortal Kombat in VR, being like Scorpion and doing like a finish him, reaching into like Sub-Zero's chest and ripping out his heart and feeling it beating in my hand. That'd be amazing.
You're a sick individual, man.
I know.
Well, it could also work with Moss, where you can feel the beating heart of. So
right before you.
Wow.
Someone's been playing too much Asgards. Jesus.
Yeah.
Dang.
And in terms of like tracking, like how do they track the gloves? Do they use like Vive trackers or something?
Yeah, so they on the back of the Dexmo gloves, you can screw a Vive puck or a controller. You can also fit a mixed reality controller around your wrist and track it that way. Or a Move controller works too. PlayStation VR is supported as well. Quest controller, Index controllers you don't really need to use because you have the Vive puck, of course. So yeah, it's getting tracked that way. And the reason why is because right now there isn't much else in terms of how you can track gloves that are, let's say, easy and also global, where you can use all of the headsets. He did mention, the CEO of the company, did mention that inside-out tracking is, of course, becoming more of the standard. So it could be that soon there will be a way to just use inside-out tracking and do it that way.
I do think that like the major thing that will probably hold it back in the gaming scene is just the size of it. It kind of looks just a little bit like like Freddy Krueger or like Edward Scissorhands a little bit, like this like big clunky device in your hands, which will not be ideal if you want to like reload a gun or you need to do something with your both hands together. So I do think like reducing the overall size of it will be something.
That's something we have also been talking about. Why is it so big? This is the smallest they can go right now. Of course, they will improve and improve. If you look at the first one, it was already way bigger. It's just that this is the best way to go right now. And since the glove form is not really a thing yet and is not possible at the moment, this is the best you can do, as I said, to simulate everything, because most gloves don't do all of this.
But I do think that like the potential of a technology like this is like, beyond comprehension, because imagine like from a teaching perspective, like you want to learn how to play the piano and actually sit in the piano and like construct something. Say like, okay, like this is how your fingers needs to be, and this is how you press the keys, and these are the keys you need to press. Now you could have that thing like just play the piano itself, or you're just learning it or trying to understand it, or like how to hold a golf stick, or how to there's so many things that you need to learn by exercise and by doing often. And technologies like this could help you perfection that kind of like.
And I got funnily enough, this was the best experience I ever had with gloves because the difference between, let's say, the ones from Manus is that you're wearing a glove, and then you know you're wearing a glove because you feel it, you feel the texture. But with Dexmo, only your fingertips are attached to this exoskeleton, and then also a strap that goes over your palm of your hand. But that's it. So you feel way more free. You feel way more like you're using your actual hands because there is not that much machinery attached to your hand. And since it looks very big, but it's very light, you like instantly start to, get used to it, and you're like, wow, I'm using my hands. You don't feel the claw over your hands.
Yeah.
But that's why this design is like that, because it's going outside of your hands instead of trying to wrap things around your hand.
The videography you've done here in this set of clips is excellent, really good, and it's hugely appetizing to see this. I mean, if our audio listeners, obviously you can't see the gloves we're talking about, but they have a real sleek plasticine kind of look to them, in a way that this is probably the first set of gloves that doesn't scare me in terms of its look. They also don't look like overly strong. Some of the others have been quite like they were built in a heavy metal factory or something, and looked like some of the actuators could do you damage. These look quite delicate, almost.
They are, and the design, they remind me personally of like things that came out of like Aperture Science Lab.
Yeah.
And like first that wasn't a thing, he started off with these very basic steampunk looking gloves, and he went from there to a more, it looks like more like a finished product that looks more appealing than others I've seen, like Haptic, for example.
Yeah,
it's a bit daunting, compared to these. So yeah, you're right. I think design wise, even that's not even a necessary thing yet to have. I think he nailed it.
Yeah, like I have no idea like if this will replace controllers in the long term, because I think we love having thumbsticks, we love having buttons, but I guess to break free from all that, using something like this would require a whole redesign in UI and how we navigate UI and use UI in games. Like it would have to be much smarter to incorporate these gloves, but I am super excited about trying it one day.
I saw it already with the you remember like everybody remembers like the 6th Sense controllers, and everyone's like, oh, it's not going to work because you need this and this and that, and games are not optimized for that. But then you see the technology evolving, and you see games being developed with that in mind, and eventually it just like snowballs into like this virtual reality kind of stuff that we have now.
Yeah, like force feedback gloves are something you don't see that much. Most of the gloves we have seen are just haptic gloves with like a little bit of vibration in the fingertips, but that's just kind of a simulated thing. The coolest part about this company, about Dexta Robotics, is that they got a funding from a company who also makes parts for DJI. So parts of that are also getting used in drones.
Not a surprise. Light and strong.
Yeah, so they have a good funding thing going on there.
Yeah.
And also something that I should definitely say is that the founder, he made this all from scratch. He came up with the idea to make these gloves. He has been working on it for years. Came up with his own blueprint. It's one of the first of its kind. Of course, there is now Tesla Suit, who's also gonna try to break through the market. But the question is when they are going to show something that comes close to this and that also works, because they announced it at CES, right? But they haven't showed one that is working yet. Just like we saw with Vive Cosmos, more of a shell than. So I would love to try that one as well. But for now, this is what Dexmo is doing, Dexta.
Yeah. It's interesting that there's a few people coming to market with similar products. So it's clearly a sign that we're evolving slowly, of course. And of course it will take even longer to drip down to consumer level. But it's always exciting when you see these business applications coming in, because it is just a sign of what is to come for us eventually.
This is like an OG company. They were at one of the first Oculus Connects showing what they had in store, and seeing where they came from and where they are now with this. It's very very impressive. And they are at some trade shows. They were at CES, and So keep your eyes open. Maybe you can try it somewhere. But again, this is for enterprise only. You could send them an email and you could buy them. But again, it's for enterprise only.
But I'm just curious about this. Like in terms of enterprise, what is their target market? Like who are they? What sector are they going after? Is this for education? Is it for medicine? I saw obviously so tears a beating heart out, Mike.
So we're talking about like healthcare surgery. We're talking about robotics, where you, for example, have cars that you need to build, and it's for training, mainly for training, where people can learn how to use that stuff. And what these gloves can do is they can also simulate an actual robot hand. Like he had a robot hand there, so I was using my hand with the Dexta gloves, and then this robot hand was doing the same gesture. So you could not only use it for VR trainings, but also for real ones. And that way you can, educate people before they start, doing the real work without really, destroying anything, because that's usually the problem with doing trainings.
And in terms of your experience, do you kind of see the future of this being used across the board as gamers, like for a game like Half-Life, for example? Like, could they replicate that feeling of holding a gun, which is probably one of the most important aspects, I would say, in terms of gaming right now, is that gun feeling? Do you think it's possible?
It's hard to say. I think for now, as you said, thumbsticks and that kind of stuff is like the way forward.
Yeah.
It could, but right now it's so early. It's so early to say that. But yeah, there are certain things that I did where I was feeling the water, and I was turning the drain and stuff, and it really felt like I was doing it. And if you could have that in a game, amazing.
For me,
sure.
Doorknobs would be it. Like I would want to see just turning a doorknob and pushing the door and feeling the slight resistance of the door as you push it. That, like in a horror game, if you're walking through a horror game, right, with this thing on your hands.
They have a horror game, by the way. They have a horror experience that you can play. Yeah, it's like they have been messing around a little. Yeah. You can even fly a drone, a DJI drone. You have to put the controller together itself with the little thumbsticks on them, and you have to flap them open, stuff like that. They have been messing around a little. So they're also, if you look at my video, we're sitting at these stuffed animals. So they're also very playful in what they are doing. I haven't seen that many companies that are serious about what they are doing, but they're also, you can just be who you want to be, and you can just have your collection on the table. Like this guy, like his collection, like at the front door, he had like a go-kart. He had like this NASA thing. He had like old claws from back in the days. It was like this factory of like imagination, and it also felt like that. He was very he was very passionate about the things he was doing.
It sounds like an eccentric type character, a bit like a Willy Wonka of VR almost, in
a positive way, yeah.
Like a mad inventor,
mechatronics and stuff.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny because, Mike, you were talking about leaps that we have to go from like this point forward, and I still think that like the way that Oculus are going with the hand tracking is really important. And I love this concept of having like what Nathie was describing, the gloveless experience, where the actual interface is minimized in terms of its contact with your skin. That's really a smart design to me, because you're going to be more and more immersed. And I'm sure Rowdy would kick in here and say, like, these are the controllers that you're used to. That's obviously where we have to get to, and whatever bridge is gonna.
What you would want is as much skin contact as possible, of course, because the more skin contact you have, the more different kind of places you can simulate experiences on as well.
I'd almost like gloves that were just out of contact, that come into contact. You have that option. Not that your hand is covered, that you actually generate the sense of contact through a tiny, millimeter off the skin movement of that glove. That would be really cool to see.
Yeah, we've got a really great question in the chat, actually, from Dr. Engrish. And he says, with the ability to feel an object but with no stationary resistance for objects like walls or doors, do these gloves throw off your senses? So I would imagine what he's trying to describe there is that you would have to extend it even further to have resistance then for your arm and other joints on your body. So although the gloves is like the first step, imagine this
Yeah.
like body scale suit exoskeleton that resists your arm, legs, and other sort of movements as well. That would be really next level, I guess.
Yeah, and like the thing is that I'm sure someone is going to experiment with that. Like when I tried them, it's not like you feel the force, but it's not like they're so strong that they become dangerous.
Yeah.
You know, it's still, you still have more control. I think they can. I think they could have. You know, of course, they have been testing with that to have them stronger in terms of like. But what I tried is like still a little bit of like, you know, because you have to, otherwise you break someone's fingers indeed, or something else happens. But yeah, the fact that it's only attached to your tips, and the, of course, the palm of your hand is just super immersive, and it feels more like where we want to go, and that is just using our actual hands to, you know, play around with stuff in VR.
Nice. Do you have another experience you want to talk about, or do you want to take some questions from the chat?
I think like I can't really come up with something else right now.
Sure. No, that's fine. So yeah, if you've got any questions for Nathie, chuck them in the chat about like his time in China. Try and avoid any coronavirus stuff, because we've talked about that a lot on the show already.
Yeah.
But I'll just quickly do a recap while the people have time to catch up in the chat. But just a reminder, so this is a weekly VR, AR, and MR talk show, live streamed every Saturday on YouTube and Twitch. We've not live streaming to Facebook anymore. We're going to be just uploading full episodes to Facebook in the future. So if that's your platform of choice, just be aware of that. You can also check out the show in VR using big screen TV. Someone in the chat, I think it was Science Gaming Teacher, said that it was working well in big screen earlier on in the show. So great to hear that people are enjoying it and it's working well in that format. So go and check that out. The show goes live at 7 p.m. in Europe, 6 p.m. in the UK, and 12 midday in central US. Also check out the audio version, which is available on iTunes, SoundCloud, and on Spotify. And also I just want to give a quick shout out to GT and Jeffrey Goodman, who donated some super chats during the show. So really appreciate your support there.
Yes, and leave a like.
Leave a like. Oh, and there was one question that I do remember seeing before anyone else offers any questions, is when are you going to take your Christmas tree down, Nathie?
Because the more of these comments get in, the longer I'm going to keep it up, because I think it's quite...
I actually replied to that one, and I said Nathie's not going to take it down, he's just going to replace it.
With a bigger one. Yeah.
Dovetailing off of, segueing from the virtual gloves and the decks, Trevor says, in Blood and Truth, a gangster breaks your fingers. So don't play that game with the Dex gloves. Maybe not a good combination.
Or even worse, do not play Resident Evil 7 with those gloves.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. Some people also in the chat have been asking about the Samsung Odyssey sort of Firefly prototype that's been kind of doing the rounds this week on sort of VR media sites and some YouTube channels. We're probably going to cover it maybe next week, but I think, to be honest, right now,
you already said everything by now.
Yeah, I don't think there's much in it. Like, these patents were filed a year ago. Maybe we'll see something coming soon, but I'm not going to hold my breath just yet.
I don't know. They just discounted the original Odyssey, didn't they? Down. It's been on sale and released in the last fortnight.
Yeah.
And actually, if you're looking for a headset that's fantastic, I mean, I won't say anything about the motion controllers because Windows MR motion controllers aren't great. But if you're looking for a great driving experience, that's a fantastic headset for very inexpensive. It's like 200 and something, 230, I think.
Maybe we could talk about it, but then to make it more interesting, we could also talk about the whole mixed reality debacle that's going on again with the name. I don't know. But
yeah, well, I think that's what we'll do next week.
It's spicy, maybe, but
yeah, I'll do as much digging as I possibly can, and hopefully we can cobble something together and we can talk about it on the show. We're also going to talk about remote robot presence in VR, which is an interesting thing that Zim brought up, especially after his experience with remote controlling a robot across the world on his highlight one episode. So we're going to be talking about that as well. But we'll have a quick look in the chat for maybe a couple more questions and then we'll say goodbye. But there was a really good one, and I'll try and scroll up because it is a bit, but I did highlight it.
There was one that I saw as well. It was Early Rains, who said, doesn't the rate of social control and surveillance scare you in China?
No. It's everywhere.
Yeah,
I think that's what they're asking, if that is not scary. Yeah, it's also in my own country, but I just don't see it that much.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think, to think that our governments are in no less control is a misunderstanding.
Also, we had Frederick Simmons who asked us, what would you prefer, a Ready Player One full body VR suit or just a Matrix-style head jack?
Oh, you mean that fucking plug it into your spinal cord? Jesus Christ, that's going a bit far. But yeah,
I think that's the same thing. Yeah.
It's way more immersive, though.
Jack me in.
Until it goes wrong.
Someone earlier was asking about rhino chairs. I assume that's some kind of sex peripheral, but did you see any rhino chairs while you were there, Nathie?
That's what I mentioned. Like, they had these stuffed animals that you could sit on.
Oh, right.
That's what they also did.
Oh,
well,
that's goodbye to Nathie.
Let's wrap the show quickly. So
just to cover Frederick Simmons' question, like I think fully jacking in like Matrix style is probably going to be the way that you can do all these things and feel it without having to have like this huge exoskeleton suit and all those kind of extra peripherals. But as Nathie's frozen, I think this is a good time to sign off and say goodbye. Yeah. So thank you for joining us this week. They're saying that he's being censored by the government for his views.
It's the coronavirus. It's gotten him.
Thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week, of course. Have a great week in VR. And until then, take care and bye-bye for now. See you later.
We'll let you know if Nathie is fine.
Wait. Everybody.
Bye, Nathie.